What you are about to see is taken from the case files of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office. This program contains dramatic reenactments. Some of the names and details have been changed to protect the innocent.
What's your emergency?
Yeah, I'd like to report that I just heard about 5 or 6 shots right across the street. I'm on Rosecrans at a hamburger stand.
Do you see any officers?
Well, there was somebody in the street. Wait a minute. There's 2 officers in the street. They're not moving.
There are few crimes more unforgivable to members of law enforcement than the murder of one of their own. After Compton, California police officers Kevin Burrell and James McDonald were gunned down during a seemingly routine traffic stop, a task force was immediately set up to track down and capture their cold-blooded killer.
I was paged and told that I was responsible for the investigation. So on Saturday morning, my partner and I responded to the command post, which was at a hotel in the city of Compton, and we took over the investigation from there.
Do we have any pictures of the officers by any chance?
Yeah, I've got a picture here of Officer Burrell. And here's Officer McDonald. Yeah. Yep.
Kevin Burrell is a large man. He was about 6'7", I believe about 350 pounds. He played basketball with the neighborhood kids, and he was just a great big teddy bear. Jimmy McDonald was, in essence, a rookie who was in the last hour of his last shift as a Compton Reserve officer. He was going to start the academy the next Monday up in San Jose, and so in his last hour of his last shift, he was murdered.
Rick, do we have any idea what time the shooting took place?
Yeah, the shooting occurred approximately 23:15 hours on the 900 block of Rosecrans, just west of Dwight Avenue.
We were shown photographs of the crime scene, and we listened to some radio transmission tapes, and we were told by the Compton Police Department that the first officers on the scene observed Officer McDonald lying in the middle of the street on his stomach.
4 on 13, 999, officers down. At Rosecrans and Dwight.
He had sustained numerous gunshot wounds. Officer Burrell was lying in the gutter on the passenger side of the radio car. He had also sustained numerous gunshot wounds. You could hear the officer very excited on the radio transmission, asking for paramedics and reporting in what had occurred.
He's gone too. Just hang on, just wait.
The gunman was driving a red pickup truck. We don't have a confirmed license plate yet. We think that he actually shot Officer Burrell first.
The first round, we believe, hit Officer Burrell in the right arm.
Officer McDonald had turned to take cover. The gunman shot Officer McDonald in the back, hit him in the neck.
That first round severed his brainstem, and in essence, he was dead before he hit the ground.
The gunman then went back to Officer Burrell, who was on the ground, put his foot up in a defensive manner, which blocked the first round from the suspect.
The suspect then shot him in the chin, and he went down. The suspect then went back to Officer McDonald and shot him in the head. Officer Burrell then rolled over onto his stomach, and the suspect walked up and placed a gun to the top of his head and executed him.
So at this time, we have one suspect, male black, driving a red pickup truck.
There were several 9mm casings discovered at the crime scene, so we knew that the murder weapon was going to be a 9mm. That was all of the evidence at the scene other than eyewitnesses.
I'm going to need you guys to distribute these around.
We set up a task force, and the next morning we had about 25 gang officers assigned to us.
These files, right? I want you to go around to the little task force.
The clues started coming in hot, people calling in saying that they had information. There was a lot of outrage in the city of Compton. The county put up a reward. The police union put up a reward.
Can you hang these up where people can see them? We really would appreciate it.
It was the first Compton policeman to be killed in several years. So the citizens were fairly cooperative.
Okay, now, Mrs. Sherman, I want you to take your time and describe to me exactly what you saw that night, okay?
I was driving down Rosecrans Avenue, and I saw a cop car had pulled over a red pickup.
Okay, all right, red pickup, right?
There was a struggle.
The struggle intensified. They heard one gunshot. They saw both officers fall. They then saw the suspect get back in his red truck and drive westbound the same direction they were going, and they felt that he was going to chase them. So they turned into a parking lot to try and get away from him and saw the suspect drive and went out of sight.
And how many gunmen did you see, did you say? Just the one gunman. Could you describe what you saw the night of the shooting?
I didn't see the shooting.
Talked to one particular witness who was a Compton police clerk who was in a left-hand turn bay at Rosecrans and Wilmington where the shooting occurred.
I mean, I really wasn't paying attention. I just figured it was a routine traffic stop.
When she drove by, she saw both officers out of the car and the suspect out of his red pickup truck.
Would you be willing to undergo hypnosis to help you remember what you saw that night?
After several weeks of not solving this, we decided what we were going to have to do is hypnotize a witness to try and come up with a good composite of the suspect.
You were under hypnosis. Perhaps that would allow you to remember what you saw and to see his face clearly and perhaps give a sketch artist some description of what you saw.
If you think it'll help, yes.
In their search for the murderer of Compton police officers Kevin Burrell and James McDonald, investigators had only a vague description of the killer. They decided to try a long shot and put one of the eyewitnesses under hypnosis.
Sarah, I want you to count backwards from 50.
50, 49, 48, 47, 46.
If you hypnotize a witness, you cannot use them in court. So we had to sit down and decide which witness we could, in essence, throw away. So we decided that we could throw away the Compton police clerk because all she saw was the car stop. She didn't actually see the altercation.
Sarah, think carefully. Did you see the gunman's face that night?
Yes.
Can you describe him?
He was young, early 20s, African American.
So we set her down with an FBI hypnotist, and she was hypnotized.
Medium build.
And while she was under, she did a composite of the suspect. We had several leads directing us in different directions to different people, and one by one we had to find them and clear them.
I understand you got something to tell us.
I got this cousin.
Calvin Cooksey told us a very interesting story of how he was at his cousin's house the night of the murders.
There's this brother we know, Reggie Thomas. He came to the house the other day and we were watching the news.
And Regis Thomas told them that he had killed the officers. He then showed them a 9mm handgun and said that he had killed the officers with this particular gun. Calvin said that he told Regis, if that's the gun that killed the officers, you better give it to me so I can get rid of it.
What'd you do with the gun after he gave it to you?
Traded it. I fenced it. Now, how about y'all go easy on that weapons charge?
I want that gun.
We put an undercover officer with Calvin, and we got Calvin out of custody, and we went back out to the neighborhood. We gave him $350 to try and find this fence to buy the gun back. They made contact. He approached the fence with the undercover officer, and they purchased the gun. They brought the gun to me, and I took the gun to the crime lab. They test fired it, and it was discovered that it was, in fact, the murder weapon.
They're a dead match, aren't they?
We started putting search warrants together, and we served search warrants on several locations.
Let's go get Regis Thomas.
The handgun used to kill Compton police officers Kevin Burrell and James McDonald linked fugitive gang member Regis Thomas directly to the execution-style slayings. And once word hit the streets that he was wanted for murder, a desperate Thomas made an unexpected move.
Our investigation is focusing right now on one individual. And of course, it's a lead, it's a good lead.
We served search warrants on Regis Thomas's house in the projects in San Pedro, where he lived with his wife and several kids.
Put your hands up, Sheriff's Department search warrant.
The day that the search warrants were served, Regis Thomas was not at home.
Where's Regis at? You guys clear the rest of the house.
They were looking for an individual who was responsible for a shooting happening around the Firestone area sometime in February. That individual was not at the location when the warrant was served, and the investigation is continuing to try and locate that suspect.
Who's it that wants to surrender?
Just as I arrived at work, my office told me you've got a couple of calls that are urgent from people who say somebody wants to surrender.
Yeah, big excuse.
I had acquired that reputation in Los Angeles because until that time, I think there were some 12 to 14 people who had surrendered to me, who were wanted in various killings.
Yes, this is Wayne Wilson.
And I called the people, and it turned out that it was the aunt of Reggie Thomas. Police had raided 6 homes of relatives of his, and he decided that he had had enough, so he called and asked her to call me. You know that guy where people surrender to? Call him and see if he'll come down and get me, and I'll surrender to him.
Where are you located? Okay.
I called him, Reggie Thomas, and made arrangements for him to surrender, and my cameraman and I went to the location. Well, I didn't know what this guy looked like, but I saw a young man, cross the grounds. And I told my cameraman, listen, shoot. I don't know if this is the right guy or not, but take pictures of him, shoot him. And sure, he ran straight to us.
All right, hold on. Yo, I'm Regis Thomas. Oh, we just have to pat you down first. Whatever, man. Let's just get in the car.
So I patted him down and got him into the van.
We'll be right there. Don't worry, everything's gonna be fine. Back of the van. He's unarmed.
Regis Thomas, step out of the van with both hands in the air.
I took him and turned him over. And as I said, this is the man, Reggie Thomas, I understand you're looking for.
Close the door. Turn around facing the van.
Turned him over. That was it. Once he was in custody, and that was broadcast. I think there was a big relief for that community and for the community of Southern California as a whole.
We have what we believe is substantial information linking Mr. Thomas to the deaths of our officers. We're optimistic that, again, we've been assured that charges will be filed against him and we can have a successful conviction.
Whenever a police officer is killed, we all lose. We all lose because we know if an individual is willing to take the life of a police officer, he is more than willing to take your life or my life. This is a dangerous individual.
Regis Thomas's trial for the murders of James McDonald and Kevin Burrell began amid a cloud of intimidation. Witnesses told prosecutors they were in fear for their lives.
It was so easy for him to kill them. He might try to do something to me.
Star witness Calvin Cooksey went into hiding after his mother was killed by gang members, allegedly as retaliation for Cooksey's cooperation with prosecutors.
I should have thought it out a little more. I trusted him, and I made a big mistake. I lost my mother, so I made a big mistake.
After 2 weeks of testimony, defendant Regis Dion Thomas, the district attorney, the Compton police chief, and family and friends of the two slain officers anxiously waited to hear the jury's verdict.
We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Regis Dion Thomas, guilty of the crime of the murder of Kevin Burrell. Find the defendant, Regis Dion Thomas, guilty of the crime of the murder of James McDonald.
During the penalty phase, Regis turned and looked at the family members and told them that he felt sorry for them, however, he was innocent.
I know within my heart I didn't do it, and I know you people know within your heart, I didn't do it.
I felt that Regis Thomas was the poster child for the reason people should be executed.
Taking my son's life is not going to bring yours back, and the feelings are still going to be there.
In this case, we sought the death penalty. We don't seek the death penalty in most of our murder cases. You have to look at all of the circumstances. Was more than one individual killed? How dangerous is this individual? What is his or her record? And what is the likelihood that a jury will, in fact, return a death verdict?
Imposing the death penalty, said penalty shall be inflicted upon you, Regis Dion Thomas, within the walls of the state prison at San Quentin, California.
We were successful here because the jury believed that the crime committed and the dangerousness of this particular individual warranted the death penalty.
A person who shoots and kills a police officer is a heartless person, values a life as though is nothing. It's a cold-hearted, heartless person who kills under those circumstances.
I do not think Regis Thomas has a soul. He could not have a soul and killed our boys the way he did. If he'd shot them once and left, that would have been something. But to stand over the boys and execute them, no one with a soul could do something like that.
When we lost 2 officers in this case, it totally destroyed forever their families. The families will never recover from this.
Regis Dion Thomas is currently awaiting execution at California's San Quentin State Prison.
Following his conviction, Regis Thomas was prosecuted and found guilty of another murder, for which he was sentenced to 25 years to life. I'm Brian Dennehy. Join me for the next episode of Arrest and Trial.